Have you ever felt a disquieting unease in someone's presence, a subtle yet persistent instinct whispering that something is amiss? Not necessarily because of overt actions or harsh words, but rather due to a confluence of unspoken cues, a forced smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes, a calculated act of kindness that feels more like reconnaissance than genuine empathy, a subtle sense of being observed, evaluated, perhaps even targeted, like a predator studying its prey. You sense it, this subtle dissonance, this underlying tension, but you begin to doubt yourself, questioning whether you're simply being paranoid or overly sensitive. Evil, in its truest and most insidious form, is rarely obvious. It doesn't arrive with a warning label emblazoned across its forehead or a theatrical villain's grin plastered on its face. More often, it cloaks itself in the guise of normalcy, even charm, generosity, and perhaps most deceptively, friendship. It doesn't strike with open violence or blatant aggression, instead, it erodes slowly, methodically, insidiously. It makes you question your own worth, your judgment, your very sense of reality, leaving you feeling disoriented, insecure, and increasingly isolated. Stoicism, the ancient philosophy emphasizing virtue, reason, and self-control, teaches us to guard our minds with the same unwavering vigilance that we would employ to protect our homes. Just as we would never knowingly welcome a thief into our dwelling, allowing them to steal our possessions and violate our sense of security, so too must we resolutely prevent toxic individuals from taking root in our lives, from poisoning our thoughts, emotions, and ultimately, our very spirit. But the crucial question remains, how do we recognize these potentially harmful individuals before it's too late, before their insidious influence takes hold and begins to unravel the fabric of our lives? The truth is, evil, even when carefully concealed, inevitably leaves tracks, subtle but unmistakable signs that betray its presence to those who know where to look, to those who have cultivated the ability to discern genuine virtue from calculated manipulation. These red flags, these telltale indicators of a troubled or even malevolent character, are often overlooked, dismissed as quirks of personality or attributed to temporary stress or misfortune. However, recognizing these signs isn't just about avoiding harm or protecting yourself from negative influences, it's about reclaiming your strength, your peace, your very sense of self. It's about taking control of your own life and refusing to allow others to dictate your worth, your happiness, or your reality. It's about cultivating a life filled with genuine connection, mutual respect, and unwavering self-belief. If protecting your mind and spirit, safeguarding your emotional well-being, and cultivating a life of purpose and joy are among your highest priorities, then stay with me, and let's delve into 6 critical red flags that expose those who seek to manipulate, deceive, and control, those who would attempt to diminish your light and steal your peace. Understanding these signs isn't merely an intellectual exercise, it's a practical tool for navigating the complexities of human relationships, for making informed decisions about who you allow into your inner circle, and for cultivating a life of resilience, authenticity, and unwavering self-respect. Let's embark on this journey of self-discovery and empowerment, arming ourselves with the knowledge and awareness necessary to protect our minds, our spirits, and our very sense of self from the insidious influence of those who would seek to do us harm. The eternal victim, a badge of suffering and a tool for manipulation. Life, in its unpredictable and often turbulent nature, inevitably presents us with challenges and hardships. Adversity, in its myriad forms, comes for us all, testing our resilience, our courage, and our ability to adapt to the ever-changing circumstances of existence. A strong and virtuous person, guided by the principles of Stoicism, meets adversity with unwavering resilience, taking ownership of their choices, learning from their mistakes, and adapting to life's trials with grace and fortitude. They acknowledge their pain, but they refuse to be defined by it. They seek solutions, not excuses, and they strive to overcome their challenges with unwavering determination. However, an insidious and manipulative person, lacking the inner strength and self-awareness necessary to confront their own shortcomings, wears their suffering like a badge of honor, not as a testament to their endurance or a catalyst for growth, but as a tool for manipulation, a means of eliciting sympathy, gaining attention, and avoiding responsibility for their own actions. To them, nothing is ever their fault, the world is inherently unfair, people are inherently cruel, and the past has irrevocably wronged them. Excuses pile up like stones in a wall, shielding them from accountability and reinforcing their self-constructed narrative of victimhood. They don't genuinely seek solutions to their problems. Instead, they cultivate a perpetual state of crisis, constantly seeking sympathy and validation from those around them. And worse, they expect you to shoulder the weight of their problems, to become their emotional caretaker, and to sacrifice your own well-being for their endless needs. At first, their constant complaining and self-pity might seem like mere venting, a harmless expression of frustration or disappointment. You offer a listening ear, a helping hand, a word of encouragement, genuinely wanting to alleviate their suffering and provide them with support. But no matter what you do, no matter how much time and energy you invest in trying to help them, their struggles never fade. Instead, they only multiply, becoming increasingly complex and intractable. Their misfortunes are always the worst, their suffering unparalleled, their burdens heavier than anyone else's. They drain your energy, slowly but surely, twisting your empathy into chains that bind you to their endless cycle of misery, leaving you feeling exhausted, resentful, and increasingly trapped. And should you dare to push back, should you attempt to establish a boundary, hold them accountable for their actions, or refuse to indulge their self-serving narrative, they flip the script in an instant, transforming themselves from the helpless victim into the righteous avenger. Suddenly, you are the cruel one, the heartless one, the selfish one, for not understanding their unique struggles or for failing to meet their unrealistic expectations. What began as your rightful defense, your attempt to protect your own well-being and assert your boundaries, becomes an unprovoked attack in their eyes, a betrayal of their trust, and a further validation of their belief that the world is inherently cruel and that no one truly cares about them. And before you know it, you're questioning yourself, wondering if you were too harsh, too selfish, too demanding. You begin to doubt your own judgment, to second-guess your own instincts, and to feel guilty for prioritizing your own needs over theirs. This is not just manipulation, it is a slow, calculated erosion of your perception, a gradual dismantling of your sense of self-worth, and a subtle but insidious form of control disguised as helplessness. They exploit your empathy, preying on your innate desire to help others, and turning your compassion into a weapon against you. The Stoics teach us that while we cannot control the actions of others, we are fully responsible for our response. And when faced with someone who consistently refuses to take responsibility for their own life, who constantly seeks to blame others for their misfortunes, and who relentlessly drains your energy with their endless complaining and self-pity, the appropriate response is clear: distance yourself. Because a person who never owns their actions will always shift the burden onto you, making you responsible for their happiness, their success, and their well-being. Ask yourself, honestly and objectively, do you constantly excuse their behavior, making allowances for their shortcomings and justifying their mistreatment of others? Do you feel guilty for setting even the most basic boundaries, fearing that you will hurt their feelings or trigger their insecurities? Have you become entangled in their endless problems, sacrificing your own time, energy, and resources in an attempt to help them, only to realize that they never genuinely seek change, that they are simply seeking attention, validation, and a perpetual source of sympathy? If so, it's time to step back, to reevaluate the dynamics of the relationship, and to prioritize your own well-being above their insatiable needs. You are not responsible for carrying someone who refuses to walk, for shouldering the burdens of someone who refuses to take responsibility for their own life. You do not owe your peace to those who thrive in chaos, who find validation in perpetual crisis, and who seek to drag you down into their own spiral of misery. A person who clings to victimhood at the expense of others is not just toxic, they are a danger to your emotional and mental well-being. Recognize the pattern, refuse to be controlled by their false narrative, and most importantly, walk away. Create distance, protect your energy, and surround yourself with people who are resilient, proactive, and committed to taking responsibility for their own lives. The cold-hearted, an emptiness that drains and destroys. If there is one single trait that definitively separates the virtuous from the wicked, the compassionate from the cruel, the genuinely human from the disturbingly detached, it is empathy, the ability to see another's struggle, to share in their joy, to acknowledge their inherent humanity, and to respond with compassion, understanding, and genuine care. This capacity for empathy is the foundation of all meaningful relationships, the bedrock upon which trust, connection, and mutual respect are built. Without empathy, there can be no genuine communication, no real understanding, and no lasting bond. But an evil person, devoid of this fundamental human capacity, feels nothing, not for you, not for anyone. Their indifference is unsettling, a chilling void that casts a shadow over every interaction. You could be drowning in sorrow, consumed by grief, overwhelmed by anxiety, or experiencing the most profound joy, and they would stand there unmoved, their faces blank, their eyes devoid of any flicker of emotion. If they acknowledge your pain at all, it is with cold detachment, a clinical observation devoid of any genuine concern. They might offer a perfunctory, "life's unfair," or, "that's just the way it is," but their words ring hollow, lacking the warmth and sincerity that would offer even the smallest measure of comfort. Or worse, they might turn the moment into something about themselves, subtly shifting the focus to their own experiences, minimizing your suffering, and implying that your problems are trivial or insignificant in comparison to their own. It's as if your suffering is nothing more than an inconvenience, an unwelcome interruption to their self-absorbed existence. Imagine experiencing a deep personal loss, the death of a loved one, a crushing professional failure, a devastating heartbreak. You turn to them, hoping for understanding, for a shoulder to cry on, for even the smallest gesture of kindness or support. But instead of comfort, you receive a blank stare, a dismissive shrug, a perfunctory pat on the back, and a condescending, "it happens to everyone." In that moment, their profound lack of humanity is impossible to ignore, a chilling reminder of the emptiness that resides within their hearts. The Stoics teach us to master our emotions, to cultivate inner resilience, and to remain steadfast in the face of adversity. But they never confuse resilience with cruelty, nor do they equate emotional control with emotional detachment. True strength is not the absence of feeling, it is the ability to act with wisdom and compassion in the face of hardship, to channel our emotions in a positive and constructive manner, and to use our own experiences to empathize with the suffering of others. Yet those devoid of empathy see kindness as weakness, compassion as foolishness, and apathy as power. To them, people are not fellow human beings, worthy of respect and care, they are simply tools, things to be used, manipulated, discarded, or ignored when no longer useful or entertaining. Their emotional emptiness creates an oppressive presence, a suffocating atmosphere of indifference and detachment. When you are around them, you don't feel seen, you feel invisible. You don't feel understood, you feel utterly alone, even in a crowded room. And that is precisely what they want. Because isolation makes you easier to manipulate, easier to control, and easier to exploit. By isolating you from your support network, they can weaken your resolve, undermine your self-confidence, and make you more dependent on them for validation and approval. But here's what you must remember: you are not small, and you are not invisible. Your feelings are valid, your experiences are meaningful, and your voice deserves to be heard. If someone consistently dismisses your feelings, belittles your struggles, or treats your existence as insignificant, they are showing you their true nature. Believe them. A person without empathy is not simply emotionally distant or bad at expressing feelings, they are dangerous. Because if they cannot care about your pain, they will have no hesitation in causing it. They will exploit your vulnerabilities, manipulate your emotions, and use you for their own selfish purposes, without any regard for the harm they inflict. Recognize the warning signs, protect your spirit, and never waste your time searching for warmth in someone who has none to give. The absence of empathy is not just a flaw, it is a flashing red light, a clear indication of a potentially destructive personality. Walk away before their emptiness drains you too, before their indifference corrodes your own capacity for compassion, and before their lack of humanity diminishes your belief in the goodness of the human spirit. The relentless critic, undermining your worth, controlling your growth. There is a particular kind of poison that does not strike suddenly or violently, but rather erodes you slowly and insidiously over time: constant, unrelenting criticism. This isn't the constructive feedback offered with the intention of helping you improve. It doesn't come as blatant insults or open attacks, but as a slow, steady drip of negativity, carefully placed words, subtle jabs, veiled observations, and backhanded compliments that always highlight your flaws, magnify your shortcomings, and minimize your strengths. An evil person will rarely, if ever, celebrate your victories, no matter how much effort you pour into something, no matter how much you grow, learn, or achieve, it will never be enough in their eyes. If you succeed, they minimize it, attributing your success to luck, circumstance, or the help of others. If you improve, they move the goalpost, raising the bar and setting even more unrealistic expectations. And if you dare to feel proud of yourself, to acknowledge your own accomplishments, or to bask in the glow of your hard-earned success, they will be there to remind you of everything you could have done better, of all the ways you still fall short, and of all the reasons why you shouldn't get too comfortable with your current level of achievement. Picture this scenario: you dedicate weeks, even months, to a challenging project, pushing yourself beyond your limits, sacrificing your time, energy, and personal well-being in pursuit of a specific goal. You finally achieve what you set out to do, surpassing your own expectations and producing a truly exceptional result. Eagerly, you share your success with someone close to you, someone whose opinion you value and whose support you crave. Their response is a dismissive shrug, a flat, "That's good," or a condescending, "But it's not that impressive." Or worse, they shift the conversation to themselves, making sure you know that they have done more, achieved greater things, and always will. They might subtly belittle your accomplishment, comparing it unfavorably to their own, or they might simply ignore your success altogether, refusing to acknowledge your hard work or to offer any genuine praise or encouragement. This is not constructive criticism, it is deliberate erosion, a calculated attempt to undermine your self-confidence, diminish your sense of worth, and control your growth. The constant negativity is not intended to help you improve, it is intended to keep you small, insecure, and dependent on their approval. A Stoic understands that external validation is fleeting and unreliable, that true confidence must come from within, from a deep and unwavering belief in your own abilities and worth. But even the strongest mind can be chipped away by constant negativity, by the relentless barrage of criticism and disapproval. Evil people know this, and they exploit this vulnerability to their advantage. They don't want to see you thrive, they want to see you doubt yourself. They plant the seeds of insecurity, hoping they will take root and grow until one day, you begin to believe their voice more than your own. You start to internalize their criticism, questioning your own abilities, doubting your own judgment, and losing sight of your own potential. And the cruelest form of this manipulation often involves flaunting their own intelligence, their own superiority, always positioning themselves above you, as if their knowledge and abilities are inherently superior to your own. This isn't about helping you improve, it's about control, about making sure you never feel secure enough to outgrow them, about keeping you dependent on their approval and their guidance. But you must remember this: their words do not define you. Their opinions do not determine your worth. Their limitations do not dictate your potential. The Stoics teach us that our worth is measured not by the opinions of others, but by the integrity of our actions, by the pursuit of virtue, and by the unwavering commitment to living a life of purpose and meaning. If someone in your life constantly criticizes but never encourages, constantly finds fault but never offers praise, constantly undermines your self-confidence but never celebrates your successes, ask yourself, what do they gain from this? And more importantly, what are you losing by keeping them around? What is the cost to your emotional well-being, your self-esteem, and your potential for growth? No one has the right to make you feel small, to diminish your light, or to dictate your worth. No one has the power to control your thoughts, emotions, or actions, unless you give it to them. Recognize the pattern, guard your mind, and never let the insecurities of another become the chains that hold you back. Step away from those who only seek to diminish you, who constantly criticize but never encourage, and who thrive on your self-doubt. Your growth is yours alone, and no one else has the right to control it. Surround yourself with people who believe in you, who support your dreams, and who celebrate your successes. The master manipulator, twisting reality, controlling your mind. A mind in doubt is a mind that can be controlled. Evil people understand this insidious truth well, and that's why they employ one of the most subtle yet devastating forms of manipulation, gaslighting. They do not need chains or physical threats to exert power over you, only a steady erosion of your confidence, a gradual dismantling of your trust in your own mind, and a systematic distortion of your perception of reality. At first, the gaslighting might seem harmless, even unintentional. You express frustration or disappointment, and they tell you you're overreacting, being too sensitive, or making a big deal out of nothing. You recall an event differently than they do, and they insist that it never happened that way, rewriting the past to suit their own agenda. You bring up something hurtful they said, and they scoff, telling you that you're imagining things, taking things out of context, or twisting their words. Each time, the seed of doubt is planted, slowly and subtly, undermining your trust in your own memory, your own emotions, and your own judgment. Gradually, you begin to second-guess yourself, wondering if you did misunderstand, if you are being too emotional, if maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't them, but you. That is exactly what they want you to believe. A person who genuinely cares for you, who respects your feelings and values your perspective, will listen to you even if they disagree. They will validate your emotions, even if they do not share them. They will strive to understand your point of view, even if they cannot fully comprehend it. But an evil person does not seek understanding, they seek dominance. Their goal is not resolution, but control. The more you doubt yourself, the easier you are to manipulate. The more you rely on them to define reality, the more power they hold over you. Picture this scenario: you are in a disagreement, and you know, with absolute certainty, that you are right. You remember the conversation clearly, the exact words spoken, the precise context in which they were uttered. But they insist otherwise, denying that the conversation ever took place, twisting the details to suit their own narrative, and making you feel foolish for even bringing it up. Before long, you are no longer defending your point of view, you are defending your sanity, trying to convince them, and yourself, that you are not crazy, that you are not imagining things, and that your memory is not failing you. The Stoics teach us to trust reason, to see things as they are, and to remain steadfast in what we know to be true. But gaslighting is designed to pull you away from truth, to make you question even the most obvious realities, and to undermine your ability to think clearly and rationally. It is a slow, calculated war on your perception, turning your own mind into a battleground where you are forever on the defensive, constantly questioning yourself and constantly seeking external validation for what you should already know to be true. And once you start seeking external validation for what you should already know, once you hand over control of your thoughts, your emotions, and your very sense of self, you become a puppet in their game, dancing to their tune, and surrendering your autonomy to their insidious control. But here's what you must remember: if someone constantly makes you feel like you are the problem, if they consistently dismiss your emotions, distort your memories, and turn every conversation into a game of doubt and uncertainty, take it as the warning it is. You do not owe loyalty to someone who poisons your sense of reality, who undermines your self-confidence, and who seeks to control your mind. Stand firm in your truth, trust your perception, and refuse to be gaslighted into doubting your own sanity. You are not crazy, you are not overreacting, and you do not need their permission to believe in your own truth. You have the power to reclaim your mind, to reassert your autonomy, and to break free from their manipulative control. The chaos makers, thriving on division, feasting on wreckage. Some people seek peace, harmony, and connection. Others, driven by a thirst for power and control, seek conflict, division, and chaos. And for the latter, there is no weapon more effective than conflict. While most of us navigate disagreements with the hope of resolution, striving to find common ground, and seeking to preserve relationships, there are those who thrive on division, who treat discord not as an unfortunate occurrence to be avoided, but as a tool to be wielded with precision. To them, harmony is dull, cooperation is weakness, and peace is something to be shattered, not preserved. These people do not stumble into drama, they create it, deliberately and methodically, like a sculptor chiseling away at a block of stone to reveal a hidden form. They carve chaos out of calm, whispering a doubt here, a sowing a seed of suspicion there, a asking a question not out of curiosity, but to incite envy or resentment. They are architects of strife, pulling the strings behind the scenes while appearing as mere bystanders to the unraveling tension they have so carefully orchestrated. A Stoic understands that conflict is often beyond our control. We cannot dictate the actions of others, nor can we prevent disagreements from arising. But we can govern our own response, choosing to remain calm, rational, and virtuous, even in the midst of chaos. Yet there are those who do not seek resolution, but revel in the storm itself. They do not merely stir the pot, they feast on the wreckage, deriving satisfaction from the suffering of others, and using the resulting confusion to their own advantage. Consider the ways they operate. In a room full of laughter and camaraderie, they find the quiet insecurities that linger beneath the surface, the unspoken rivalries, and the hidden resentments, and they feed them, subtly amplifying the negativity and creating a sense of unease. At a family gathering, they casually mention an old grudge, reigniting tensions that had long been buried, and watching with detached amusement as the argument erupts. In a group of friends, they sow doubt, suggesting that one person's motives may not be as pure as they seem, creating suspicion and mistrust that slowly erodes the bonds of friendship. At first, their words may seem harmless, even innocent, but step back and you will see the pattern, the arguments they ignite, the friendships they fracture, the unease they leave behind like footprints in the sand. And the most telling sign of all, when the damage is done, they watch, silently, slipping into the background, observing the unraveling chaos with an almost imperceptible satisfaction. While others scramble to make sense of the confusion, to repair the damage, and to restore harmony, they remain untouched, as if they were never involved at all. And should you dare to call them out on their behavior, they will feign innocence, claiming that they were just being honest, that they didn't mean anything by it, or that everyone is overreacting. They are masters of deflection, twisting the narrative so that the very people they have harmed begin to question themselves, to doubt their own perceptions, and to feel guilty for even suggesting that the conflict seeker might have been responsible. A Stoic is not easily provoked, but even the strongest mind can be tested when surrounded by relentless negativity and constant turmoil. These conflict seekers understand that constant turmoil wears people down, leaving them exhausted, emotionally drained, and easier to manipulate. Their goal is not to win arguments, but to keep them going. They are not interested in resolution, only control. But here's the truth, you do not owe them your energy. You don't have to be pulled into their storms, to become a pawn in their game, or to sacrifice your peace of mind for their amusement. If someone in your life consistently fuels division, takes pleasure in watching others clash, or reacts to harmony with thinly veiled contempt, believe what they are showing you. Because the most dangerous aspect of these individuals is not just the conflict they create, it's their complete indifference to the suffering they cause. They do not see human connection as something sacred, something worth nurturing, something to be valued and protected. They see it as a battlefield, a game, a source of amusement at the expense of others. And as long as you remain within their reach, you will be a piece in their game, a pawn in their strategy, and a target for their manipulative tactics. So step back, protect your peace as fiercely as they seek to destroy it, and set boundaries that their manipulation cannot breach. A life spent in the orbit of such people is a life spent in needless struggle, trapped in battles that are not your own, and sacrificing your own well-being for the amusement of others. As the Stoics remind us, we are the gatekeepers of our own minds. Choose carefully who you allow inside, and when necessary, choose to walk away. The deceiver, twisting reality to control, mastering the art of the lie. Truth is the bedrock of trust, the foundation upon which all meaningful relationships are built. Without it, relationships collapse, reality blurs, and certainty fades, leaving us vulnerable to manipulation and control. A virtuous person values honesty, knowing that the truth, however uncomfortable it may be, is the only solid ground upon which real connection can stand. But an evil person has no such regard for truth. They do not lie out of necessity, to avoid consequences or to protect themselves from harm. They lie because they want to, because they enjoy it, because it gives them power. For them, deception is not merely a tactic, it is a way of life, a fundamental aspect of their character. They do not just bend the truth to avoid consequences, they twist reality itself, reshaping it to suit their own agenda. They lie to manipulate, to control, to test boundaries, to see how far they can push you before you push back. At first, their deception may seem harmless, a small exaggeration, a conveniently altered detail, a white lie intended to spare your feelings. But soon, the pattern becomes clear. One moment they tell you something with absolute certainty, swearing that it is the unvarnished truth, only to deny it later, rewriting the past as if your memory is the problem, not their words. And if you push back, if you attempt to hold them accountable for their lies, they shift the blame, accusing you of overreacting, imagining things, being too sensitive, or simply misunderstanding their intentions. And so the trap is set. Doubt creeps in, undermining your self-confidence and eroding your trust in your own perception. Maybe you misheard, maybe you misunderstood, maybe you are being too critical, too demanding, too unforgiving. That's how they win. A true manipulator does not simply deceive, they reshape your perception, making you question your instincts, second-guess your reality, and ultimately, rely on them to tell you what is true and what is not. This is not just lying, it is gaslighting, a deliberate war on your clarity of thought, a systematic attempt to dismantle your ability to think critically, to reason logically, and to trust your own judgment. One moment you stand firm in your understanding of a situation, confident in your own perspective and secure in your own beliefs. The next you are lost in a fog of confusion, questioning everything you thought you knew, and unsure of what is real and what is not. This is by design, a calculated strategy to weaken your defenses, to make you more vulnerable to their influence, and to ultimately, control your thoughts, emotions, and actions. But the most unsettling sign is not just their deception, it is their lack of remorse. Watch how easily they fabricate stories, how smoothly they distort facts, how readily they rewrite the past to suit their own narrative. They lie even when the truth would cost them nothing, simply because they can, because they enjoy the power that deception gives them, and because they believe that they are entitled to control the narrative, regardless of the consequences. To them, honesty is not a principle, but a tool, one to be discarded whenever it ceases to serve their agenda. A Stoic understands that clarity of mind is essential for a life of virtue, that truth anchors us to reality, and that deception erodes our ability to reason, to act justly, and to live in accordance with nature. If someone in your life constantly manipulates the truth, constantly distorts reality, and constantly lies with ease, they are not just dishonest, they are dangerous. Every conversation becomes a battlefield where the ground shifts beneath you, leaving you exhausted, unsure of what is real, and vulnerable to their manipulative tactics. And that is exactly what they want. But you do not have to play their game. If you find yourself constantly questioning your own perception around them, feeling uneasy as if something is always off, and sensing that you are being manipulated, take it as the warning it is. Do not excuse it as a bad habit, a simple character flaw, or a temporary lapse in judgment. A person who lies with ease will not hesitate to destroy your sense of reality, to undermine your self-confidence, and to exploit your vulnerabilities for their own selfish purposes. So step back, guard your mind, and most importantly, trust your instincts. Because an evil person will never give you the truth, it is up to you to see it for yourself, to recognize the patterns of deception, and to protect yourself from their manipulative control. I know this can be a lot to process, particularly if you are currently in a relationship with someone who exhibits these traits. Recognizing these red flags isn't always easy, especially when emotions are involved, when you've invested time, trust, and hope in someone, and when you are desperately clinging to the belief that they are capable of change. But awareness is power. The sooner you see the truth, the sooner you can protect yourself from years of manipulation, self-doubt, and pain. Evil rarely announces itself, it comes disguised as a friend, a partner, even a family member. It does not strike all at once, but erodes your peace piece by piece, slowly but surely, until you no longer recognize yourself, until you have lost sight of your own worth, and until you have surrendered your autonomy to their insidious control. But here's what you must remember: you are not powerless. You do not owe your energy to those who drain you, your loyalty to those who betray you, or your peace of mind to those who seek to destroy it. The moment you recognize these patterns, you reclaim your choice, the choice to step back, to set boundaries, to walk away if necessary. Even if it's painful, even if it means letting go of someone you once trusted, know this: your peace is worth more than their presence. Your happiness is worth more than their approval. And your well-being is worth more than their manipulation. If this resonated with you, if you have found value in these insights, and if you are committed to protecting your mind, your spirit, and your very sense of self from the insidious influence of toxic individuals, then I encourage you to take action. Reflect on your own relationships, identify any potential red flags, and take the necessary steps to create distance, set boundaries, and prioritize your own well-being.